5-6. This is what, the 14th? 14th of January, 96.
You got anything you'd like to put on the table?
Well, maybe, but what do you got you'd like to put on the table?
I asked you first.
Well, one thing was your response to the articles. Patty read I was Beth when she read the first one to me. I mean, the Post Tribune one, and it sounded like what you told me you'd said.
Oh,
which is
it's kind of
which is unusual. For
it's really funny. I think I told you, but I felt good about the thought I had on the can that morning. About what do we have? I mean, just to think the thought. What do we have in common? You know, everybody will say Martin Luther King. What do you think he gets an award for, and so forth. And
yeah, and you know you're going to have to say something.
And Carl would have said, if he were to think that question, which I don't think he didn't. You know, he would have said, "Well, we're all believe in Jesus Christ," or something like that. Somehow, I can't figure it out. Somehow, I think it's almost an inspiration. The word "boss." We have this name "boss."
Yeah.
It put Martin, Walt, and Carl is not the leading actor in a way. You know what I mean? It's,
sure. In service.
Right. And when a person says, "Well, my strength is Jesus," and so forth,
it's me.
It's still me, you know? And the word "boss" just hit me. I don't know how it hits the readers. I have no idea. But I felt good about it.
Sure.
Can't figure it out yet, but I'll be interested to see how the readers, a few friends, hear the word "boss." And, what else you got?
Well, the other thing I just wanted to mention to you is that one of the reasons. I mean, yesterday in the neighborhood meeting, you were talking. You know that what you said at the end there really got Paul going. Which is, I mean, one of the reasons I picked up on it and tried to push it in a little bit different, direction. I mean, the thing about, Paul's comment about Casa maybe being a vehicle for, some of this stuff that you and I have touched on in terms of, what's a real community? How are we going to make it in this? How are people going to make it in this world, especially poor people, but really any people as time goes on, where jobs for pay are less and less necessary. And, how do you find value in the world, and then how do you get your money? And those are two different questions. How do you work? And the reason I mention it is that Paul is he and I sat around and talked for maybe a half an hour later about that, and you've been interested in expanding our discussions on those kind of issues, and I think Paul would really be interested if there were a time and a place, and I don't know, I mean, his time is so.
Well, let me comment on one you just triggered. I've always said, without the hammer, I don't have my relationships with these folks that have enriched my life, okay? Literal hammer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a pastor. I come into the house to fix something. And that relationship we establish it's sort of the difference between Carl and myself in that article almost. We're in a Laicized world. In terms of my faith, the world in which we're to be made junior pastors is bullshit. It's over. Go out in the world as junior pastors. You know what I mean? With the chief gun is the pastor. He tries to, through Bible studies and everything else, make us junior pastors to be missionaries out there. There is no other place other than out there. Pastors aren't out there.
Yeah.
In the new world. Not in the old world. In the new world.
Now, I'm not sure if that's really old world, but we could debate that.
Well, in the heads of everybody it was, George. I mean, in Christendom. And even everywhere. I mean, you can still read the old world in Islam. I mean, in the book section today on, what's his name, Rushdie?
Salman Rushdie.
Yeah. I mean, he's still being clobbered because, look, and as a statement about religion and politics, Allah is running the state. That's why they're against democracy. Because Allah runs the state. There's no separation of church and state in Islam. You with me? I mean, that's a traditional faith. That was Christendom. Christian faith. Same thing. And Zeus and Dionysius and everything else had their share of that kind of thing. But that world is gone. Rushdie's going to print his thing and it's going to be a bestseller. No matter what a couple other leaders say in Islam.
Yeah, well, in terms of bestseller, probably the reaction of the old world is the best thing ever happened to him.
Yeah, if he stays alive.
Right.
And
that's a cynical attitude. I don't think that's what motivates him.
No, I have no idea either. But I mean, his publisher might think about it. What would we start with?
Well, aside from the reactions.
Excuse me. The hammer. Casa. Those two things I threw out, I want to deal with both of them myself. I want to talk about it more in very specific terms in terms of the future neighbors. One was the taking care of these two families. That's a given, okay? The other one is this thing about what are we going to be talking about? Where do we want to go? And I gave a suggestion, okay? And then you just said it, we have to find a time and place. Absolutely. There's no way an hour on a Saturday morning is it. There's no way it's it. No way as neighbors meetings that we have known can be it. Secondly, the casa can be the hammer that brings certain people together that have a good reason to talk, no matter where they're coming. You with me? Sort of the hammer. Getting the toilet fixed. I mean, we do have to talk about casa, and casa people have to talk about casa and where it goes, you know. And so that could be a hammer for a gathering of folks. We have a big language problem we have to figure out. Now, what I would... The pink slips are just in case we wanted them to... I don't know how to get together with you and talk like this. And talking like this is not unimportant as far as neighbors concerned. My heart's a yo-yo. I don't know what it's going to mean. Privately, I'm concerned about getting my house in order for Lodi. But publicly, a key thing is neighbors, you know. And there's some things I'd like to quickly share with you on that.
Okay.
And it's and it's with the understanding that it makes all the sense in the world for me to fade in time out of certain responsibilities. On the other hand, my duty calls me to basically see this family through and some place for them to live, and that continues my job as the housing director or something of Neighbors. Okay. In other words, I want to be the launch. Don't want to be. I will be the launching pad for Neighbors moving in to some concrete action regarding families and housing for the first time. Okay. Reiner Foundation as an entity has had to do it all for a lot of reasons, right? I've collected enough money to make a good start at paying the $400 a month in utilities for this family each month out of Neighbors for 9 months. I've collected money that just about covers it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of it. We need more. We have with Hilltop, we have until we get rid of Hilltop, we have the basis to buy a house and get whatever down payment we want. We don't have the down payment. And that's something that I will join with you and Paul as leaders to sweat. How are we going to get some down, and Ivan, to some down payment money, all right, for whatever we get to renovate, model, or something. And then we have to get material stuff. It's going to cost. So we have some money problems ahead, all right. And I will knock myself out till that task is done. After that, on this kind of effort, if you want to continue, if Neighbors wants to continue in housing and families similar to what we've been doing, you and Paul better take the leadership. I don't know where else it's coming from. Okay? On how to do that.
Yeah. No, I know that, and I put Ivan in there as well.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
That's up to you.
Yeah.
All I'm saying here, I'd rather say it maybe negatively, I'm not going to be in that role after 9 months. I don't see how we can entertain anything else other than this family in a house in 9 months. We got a lot of money to collect to do that job.
And I'm, it seems to me that it makes sense to, to have us take this on, this 9 months as well. I mean, Paul and Ivan and I and others to
well, let's put it this way.
It's got to be a Neighbor's responsibility, not something Reiner Foundation bails.
Oh, it's a Neighbor's responsibility. I'm talking about the leadership here. I think it would be wise that until this family's settled, take the lead because of the relationship I have with the families, because of time. Time's a major problem here.
Absolutely.
And because I'm trying to train, this is another key point for you and Paul to think about. I would like to say that in 9 months, I have 1 or 2 maintenance people that have been trained as part-time workers to go into the future with. You follow me? For Neighbors. It's Neighbors that has to have these people. I mean, and Wheatridge has got them covered for 2 years, one way or the other. It's back door, indoor. Neighbors has got 1 or 2 workers for maintenance covered. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But unless, I mean, I'd be glad to give it to Paul right now, but I don't think it makes sense. Hilltop is going to drain whatever time he's got, and mine too, in a sense.
Yeah.
Um,
It's such a big.
it's a major thing. I'm scared to death for myself right now. What I got ahead, just this next week, unbelievable what I got ahead. The list of things that I have to do and be responsible for. And I'm trying not to have any authority. We spent a big long meeting, and Bill Domke says, "Who is going to be the authority here on the job?" I didn't know what he was exactly getting at, and I didn't know what he wanted. And I said, "Well, we had a good meeting." And I said, "From what I sense here at this meeting, that Paul and Mike really represent Hilltop the most in terms of technique and knowing what has to be done and so forth. And I have a 2 cents to put in there that's not unimportant, because I did put in some very important pieces in there. It's not unimportant. But when it comes to authority on the site, I don't know where you're coming from, Bill. I tell you what I would like. I would like all these things to be discussed in meetings, but you have the authority. I want my role to be between you and Cruz. I'll deal with Cruz. You tell me what to do and what we're going to tackle this next 2 days and so forth. I'll try to get Cruz going. I don't want a role of supervisor on a bigger scene. I will also be a bridge between you and leadership of volunteer groups. I'll take that time off your hands. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know whether he would take that authority and that kind of role. He wanted fine. So I'm happy. I'm happy. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world that I deal with the language problem and with Cruz, and I know him and get him going and all that kind of thing, and get there early and get him set up. Anyhow, so we're loaded with Hilltop this semester. So I'd be glad to get rid of worrying about another house and getting it ready for this family, but I don't see how it makes sense. I will tackle one more house as the kingpin, and that's it. Whatever direction they want to go after that, I will be a nice little voice here, but I'm not taking any leadership. Okay? Sort of like Hilltop. I'm fading out of that one fast. Okay? I have a lot of families left in Reiner Foundation and a lot of houses that I don't want to leave in the condition they're in, as long as that can help. That's going to be my concentration after this family is settled, after Hilltop's doors are open. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's another whole subject, the Reiner Foundation, but not for now. So unless somebody wants to take over on finding the house and getting it ready and hooking it up with the family and getting a little sweat equity out of them and doing stuff like that, I'll do it.
But yeah, I think again, time is the problem. But we shouldn't be foolish about it. I agree with you. I think it makes sense for you to take the lead in that. But I also think it makes sense to the extent, even if it takes us time, that we need to include Paul and Ivan and I don't know who else in the relationship with the family. And, some of that stuff, because I guess Paul probably knows how to do that.
Well, I'll be sensitive to that because I think it's crucial.
Yeah, it's like what I said. It's like what I said yesterday about getting people to come in and work on Hilltop. Is until they do it.
But that's pretty much, George, good for the people that work with to know each other. It has very little to do with the relationship of the family.
Absolutely. No, I understand that. I said it was a similar kind of thing. If we're going to figure out how to.
There's only one quick way because there's a lot of other things. There's only one quick way. You have to figure out how to establish this relationship. I can make it very easy for you. You got a good excuse with Annie going to Spain, and to have someone else with Annie there that can speak Spanish quite well. Have them over for dinner. I can't think of a better thing to do than to have, and I can furnish I'll get the translator, to have them over for dinner. They're fun. Right now, I cannot think of any other thing to do. They got babies, they got kids, they got God knows what.
You don't need a translator. Annie's a translator.
She's not capable of. If you're going to have a whole evening together, it could be pretty shabby.
Yeah.
Her Spanish is not that kind.
Yeah.
Now, I might add, invite Art Saley to come too. She is our new. I've been thinking of a term. How you like this one? I think we're going to talk more about it in a minute. But I'm putting together this committee in my mind, and I would like to call it the Bridge Building Committee. Neighbors Bridge Building Committee. We have to have a title for, and anything we put in there, I'll tack onto the Wheat Ridge monies. You know what I mean? Whether it's expense or goodness knows what. But Art Saley is somebody that could join. She will be good friends with these folks in no time that she knows them, but she'll become better friends with them, and to invite her along to a dinner or something like that, an outing or a coffee, who knows what, All I'm saying is I can't think of anything than a family inviting a family, and do respect the language thing. No, be my guest, you would call, and I even think in other ways, but time is a problem. You all have to eat, have an evening. It's instead of an evening out, it's an evening in, etc. Other than work. But I think your point is extremely well taken. You need this relationship, but I have not been able to figure out how to get others in Project Neighbors tied in on hands in very well. It's hard. It's very hard. That's why I'm talking now. It's hard for us to have time to sit and talk. You know what I mean? Now that leads.
Yeah, the weeks just evaporate from me.
Well, they do for me too. Just so that you know, this is tomorrow's schedule right here.
Well,
it's loaded.
Well, I understand, and
yeah.
I'm never one. I've always had work in this world, and whether it related to pay or not was always incidental to me until I had kids and whatnot to think about those kind of responsibilities. But so I understand you can fill your day with responsibilities that take all your time and then some.
Yeah. Well, I think this is, you got a picture of me and housing and families and neighbors and future.
Yeah, and all I was saying, one of the ways that I learned some of this stuff was, you went to Germany and you said, here's the Ramos, any Ramos too? Family out there? First Mexican family.
Ramos,
yeah.
First Mexican. Oh, no. No, not Ramos. I can't even think of him. I know who it is. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, though. You said, it's not always very nice. They'll take advantage of you, but go out there and, this is what you got to do. And
you had a hammer.
Yep. And I had, I had to go collect the rent, and I had to do this, that, and the other. And
see that my hammer was collecting $150. That's what I was trying to get at right away from, and so now I have to take the hammer. How do I make the bridge? God damn it, I am not a landlord.
Yeah.
I'm a brother. I'm a brothers and sisters, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That takes effort, it takes thinking, it takes time, it takes you have to work on it or you're a landlord. Yep. With the I had the name and I lost it. Uh, uh, you have to think in terms of I had to get across to something that Paul and them know, but here's Bill and here's Mike. That when we're working with crews, there's some things you ought to know, about South American pride, a few things, And I said, I need a title for the guy, not a janitor or anything else, or not. Hey, Cruz, you need this. Why don't you do this? Hey, Cruz, and he needs a title. He's assistant building supervisor. Um, it's just that kind of thing that has to be worked on, sensitivity to, and everything else. Emmanuel freaks him out. Freaks him out. There in 2 years, there hadn't been one kind. Here, these women go every night, 6 nights a week. Sure, they've had a lot to learn and so forth. Sure, the Johns weren't always perfect and so forth. There hasn't been a single bonus from the church, or you'd think the teachers. They're cleaning the teachers' classrooms, everything. No, no little present at Christmas. Hell, we give our Vidite messenger delivery boy a present, Not one kind word. Just, they didn't do this again, And it's not how you deal with people, Especially if you want to establish a relationship. If you want to make sure that they know who's boss and put the fear of God in them, well, you do what you do. Anyhow.
Well, it's and
that needs to be worked on.
Yeah, and just to this is part of what Paul and I were talking about after the meeting is in business. How do you Paul has done some things with his businesses that are a little unique, that are a little different.
Well, anyhow, what I'm trying to say here is I'm not going to worry about it. I am available to hook you up when you ask for time. If you need help in hooking up for a dinner engagement or anything else, I'll have no problem. Figure out how to. Annie can meet them and bring them over, or whatever. Okay. I'm available. I'm not going to instigate it because you guys are so busy. Every time I come near, I feel like I'm infringing on time and everything else. Whether I should or not, I don't want to get into. But that's how I feel. Okay. So whenever you want to make a move, I want to get this week. I want to have a relationship with them, and here's what I would like to do. So I'll help you put it together. Okay. Now, as far as the bridge building committee or coordinating bridge building committee, maybe CBBC. I'm open for a better name. I think a title ought to be there, especially for the books. We have to talk about that. I don't see any trouble in it. I think maybe the best way for these little $100, $150 stuff, rather than putting them on a payroll or something, maybe the best way is given until it's much more than 100 or 150, giving them an advance each month and have them bring in chits, which won't be hard to do. That's one thought, and I don't think we'd have any problem listing those things with Wheat Ridge at all.
I guess let me just tell you, my preference is to to the extent that they have expenses, that's fine. I don't mind covering the expenses, but I think it really is an employment situation, and if if we want
I
to
have
make
no
it,
problem with that
if
either.
we want to make it $100 a month and gross it up to take care of the
I had
taxes.
that thought too. If
I-
that's easier, I'd rather go that way.
I mean, I don't. I mean, we do that with Christmas bonuses here. Or we have in the past. We quit doing it this year, but it was.
It's roughly about 7.5% is taken out, right? For $100 a month or something.
Well, for $100 a month, I mean, it's going to cost us another 15 or 20 bucks or something.
Yeah.
If we gross it up to take care of our taxes and their taxes and whatnot, and that's not a.
No, I'd rather go that way. So let's don't talk too much about that. Let's go that way.
They just need to know. I mean, we need to give them some. If you don't want it, I mean, I prefer to give them a check. I think that's cleaner, and they all have to deal. I mean, partly is they have to deal with checks in this society, and I think they can, right?
No, that's what come under not CASA. It come under the neighbors thing. We have Ed, and we're going to Ed on there, and we're going to have Cruz on there. Until we separate, it would just
and Ed and Cruz are coming out of the Anderson Foundation
this
money,
will come out of
and this will come out of our other part of our
I'll
budget.
talk about that in a minute too. But
But that's fine because Sharon doesn't care.
so that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
So it's no problem.
Yeah.
And I will be looking fast for somebody for this children thing, music and everything. Paul goes crazy too because the parents need counseling and help on how to discipline their kids to do this or don't do it. You know what I mean? And then there's money to be collected and everything else, and kids to be rounded up. The camp thing is big. All right. So I'm going to be putting together a committee. That's something I can leave with you and Ivan and Paul. I will be, in a sense, training this committee. You know what I mean? There's a lot of transfer of stuff from Loy's stuff and mine and everything that has to be. We want to put the person, probably a woman, in charge, an adult in charge of all the kids' stuff. There's a ton of stuff, and I'll be responsible to make sure that once it's in that person's hand, it's yours. It's not mine anymore. Okay? I'm not going to worry about camp physicals, so forth and so forth. Hooking up with Keith. They'll know that you got to hook up with Keith.
Mm-hmm.
I won't worry about it. All right? Mm-hmm. So there will be a coordinating bridge building committee, or whatever title we eventually get to it.
Well, just on procedure is, and I don't mind starting these things out, but I think we ought to discuss it in the board meetings or among some of the board members, including Paul and Ivan and whoever else, for thoughts and input.
Well, I've already thrown out the names. Discuss it. I don't have the child thing yet. I asked, please tell me somebody. So I've already thrown out Kathy Tierney and Art Saley's name.
And
Now you take it from there. I can't do any more than that. I got to get going now.
well, I guess I'm unclear as to what you're talking about, Art Saley doing. Partly is I just don't know her very well.
Be a neighbor in the Locust Street area, especially with Spanish-speaking people that are new coming in, especially, not only. And we're talking about 5 hours a week, 4 to 5 hours a week, roughly, taking steps that you wouldn't normally take, seeing people that you would not normally see, and doing what neighbors do, good neighbors, particularly people who have a lot of hurts, and we don't know what those hurts are. Another task is to let us know when there are hurts that she can't handle. That's a major one. because at most of the big herds, she can't. And she can initially let me know, but in time, we'll set up another means of communication for that.
Is this
And
something?
I've just developed a job description.
Is this something you've talked with her about?
I just developed a job description. And Kathy Tierney wants to think it all over for a while. Another one is to coordinate with Hilltop. I'm hoping that's going to be Kathy Glady, to form a even larger committee, a sort of a Locust Street committee, bottom up. These are descriptive terms. A Locust Street bottom up hands-on committee. Kathy Glady's ideal for that, if she'll do it, and she and the others would work together and bridge the two boards. That's my kind of hope. I mentioned this to Ed. Go talk to Kathy, no problem. Hilltop better, it's not neighbors right now, but Hilltop better have to begin to develop some folks with names in the Locust Street area, which we haven't done yet. Okay? Loy will just finish on that. Loy will know. Bruce, you know Bruce. He's 40-year-old drunk from Locust Street, knows and traces all the way back to the first settler. I see him every day. You know, hey, you got to see the sign. It is worth it.
Yeah.
What do you think of that sign? Well, and I said, we're going, Bruce, you have to light up a room for us, because we're going to have an office for you over there, you know. And, well, all I want is a bar, you know. Well, that's okay. I mean, I have learned, right or wrong, but from my perspective, if you got the lowest man or woman on the totem pole on your side, you're way ahead of the game.
Sure.
And Bruce is on my side. He has been for years. I'm serious. I mean, he'll totally put down Locust Street people. He'll put down everything, but he's on our side.
Well, you know, I'm beginning. You know, partly is it for me to get behind it, and you know, I need to understand it, and so the thing with Arceli is beginning to make sense to me in terms of, you know, this is a small pittance to enable her to help all of us with developing. You know, it might be like community organizer in the Hispanic community, is how to make connections there amongst people and with others of us. And as an add-on to that you just said, and this is just another way I'm trying to, you know, understand it in my own mind, is to begin to develop what might be an organized relationship between the community and Hilltop that she lives in. Is that? Am I translating?
What I said, yes.
Yeah.
Now, what I said yesterday. Now, I'm about to say some things that are important. I think they're not unrelated to what you just said, but neighbors, because of the nature of Valparaiso's housing development and everything else, neighbors and Hilltop are dealing primarily, not exclusively, with the same community. Smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Both Hilltop and neighbors, we're not there to duplicate anybody. We're there to. I had to get little things like Roy Inslee, who's an asshole in terms of what he does in the housing, more than you realize. And I got Kathy Tierney. It's important to say. Kathy, they got into that dump of Roy's, stinky, filthy, everything you can imagine. Okay? and one of the women, Appalachian women living there, called me every name in the book for parking the truck in the driveway so I can, in 5 minutes, load the bed and everything. That's my parking place, you goddamn. I mean, violence and all I can say is this sweet little baby has been abused in her life, to my mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so Roy deals with these people all the time. Now, there's a housing deposit which has to be paid back to the car washing people who lent the money but taken out of the salary for washing cars. We want that housing deposit back. Okay? And, well, you broke a lease. Well, it's not quite true. First of all, the lease indicated that the place would be clean when they got it and clean when you leave. Okay? It wasn't clean when we got it. The lease was broken before we started. Okay? In a sense, my lay sense, not legal sense. But, so I had Kathy go. Two things. First of all, Kathy, if you can't get to the committee, I will. If you can get some folks. We want that place spotless. Vacuum, scrub, walls, scrub, spotless. We got to start turning this community around. And until somebody straightens me out, I don't know how else to do it. I just don't know. I am not going to sit and be defensive with that woman who calls me a fucking son of a bitch for taking it. I'm not going to sit there and say, no, I just here 5 minutes and I'm not a fucking, let's clean the damn place spotless. Kathy is sharp. Of course, she agrees with me. And the place was clean spotless. Kathy, would you ask for the deposit? Well, you broke the lease. We can't give you the deposit. And I said, Kathy, would you call Roy? And I gave the phone number. I try to delegate wherever I can.
Mm-hmm.
Would you call Roy and say that, as nice as you know how, that you're with Project Neighbors. He knows who Project Neighbors is, and he knows Walt.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with Walt with Project Neighbors, and we really want to cooperate with landlords, anybody, to as much as we can. We're not out to fight anybody. We've cleaned the apartment spotless. It wasn't clean before we left, and these folks desperately need that security deposit. And I don't have an answer yet, but I think we'll get it. Okay. I don't know of a better way to function. There might be a better one. It might be just hard-nosed with Roy. I don't know. I don't think so. In the long run, he's still there and we're still there. We got to face each other. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, well, I do the legal thing all the time. And it's not nice. It doesn't work. It doesn't resolve problems between neighbors. It gets somebody a security deposit. Maybe.
But all I'm getting at now is this approach it took Kathy's time galore, It took 2 days to clean that place. And I would have done it otherwise. It takes time you don't have. Now, earlier you said something, I don't want to lose it. You ought to know these stories. We need to find that. We can't meet on Sunday morning and spend the whole time catching up. You and Paul and everybody else need to know some of these stories, I guess. I don't know. We need to find a better way to do it, time-wise, because I worry about Hilltop. That's why Loy and I don't know if you read the thing that I put in with Patty's packet. We're printing out a thing and handing out on the way out tomorrow night. a hands-on thing on how we look at the whole village to raise a child. It's just our way of doing what I've just been doing. There's some real life taking place here, you know. And I'm also Xeroxing December 11th Kozel's one page in the back of town. Very interesting. Who's it? Jonathan, you know. Who he is.
Yeah, Amazing Grace.
Yeah. I'm just attaching that to our page.
Yeah, I clipped that article for you. There was an interview with him, which I'll give you while you were in the.
I got to December 11th. I Xeroxed it. But anyhow, I mean, there might be better ways. I just. Maybe think it over. You and Paul and I have talked this. See, when I say you, Paul, I don't want to be too much involved in that because I'm thinking more heavily on Reiner Foundation now for the future. Okay, in terms of a lot of thinking stuff. But I think maybe, and I could be. See, I got a few months here to train these folks and run things by you guys to see if this is part of the training. I think that there ought to be reports that are primarily designed for you folks that don't have time for the hands-on to see. You said earlier, I don't really know yet what our Sally's supposed to do. I think telling some stories you might begin to figure out what it's all about. You following me?
Yeah, it didn't take me long to get a sense
Just
of it.
Just a few stories, and you got
it didn't take me long to get a sense of it when you explained to me what it is you have in mind.
Yeah. But now,
and I have an imagination. You know, I can imagine what that might mean.
Yeah, but now what if every so often this committee did what I did this morning in a few minutes? You following me? And wrote a little report. Maybe every 3 months have a report as part of their responsibilities. I think that might be good because from this report, you can use it for some stuff, you know, plus your own head and heart. You with me? And understanding better. How can I describe? I have spent at least 15 hours. That's a lot of hours on Mary Breland and the death of her father this past 5 days. At least 15 hours.
Sure. And Lois has probably spent as much time.
Yeah, and how do you, on a job description, you know, the best we can do is a little report of not just saying we spent 15 hours, but a little what took place, you know, what had to be done, and decisions that had to be made. Cost me personally a lot of bucks, you know. I mean, I have no place to take it from. I don't know how to get it, you know. I think there could be a place that we could take monies for that. I don't understand the IRS enough to know, can't we not? If I give, she and her kids have to have bus fares back and stuff like that. Is there emergency funds that we can give families? I don't know. I guess maybe not. I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know. I don't know. I get scared of IRS. I don't know.
I do too.
But it's a major question. Should we not have an emergency fund that we can use to give families, individual families, emergencies? God, there's loads of them. And maybe somewhere along the line we can dovetail the low monies out of Hilltop on that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that. You know, individual. I mean, you know, immigrant and travelers aid as emergency money for for people, I'm sure.
Find out for me. I need to push it someplace that can do it. Hilltop, either Hilltop or here. Okay? Meanwhile, I'm spending money like crazy. Okay? All right. So now that's the committee, the bridge building committee. I don't know if there's a better name. It could be community coordinating committee or community bridge building.
Yeah, it could be community support.
That's a better simpler name. Community support committee. All right. So I want to tell them they're on the community support.
Now,
I'd like to be able to tell them there's some serious emergency, not haphazard, but some serious emergency funds available. We'll find it somewhere. We don't even have it right now. But we can get it.
but and I think about community.
Excuse me,
support.
on that fund, if we don't have it, I can get people to give to neighbors to write it off, and then we have it on a specific issue. Just like I got $2,500 for this Project Neighbors for the family, for housing.
Yeah. Well, what I think of as community support is kind of a tricky word in terms of how you think about it. Whether it's neighbors supporting the community or the community supporting neighbors. It goes both ways, is all I'm saying. Is that the words don't tell you.
That's why I had the word bridge building.
That's right. Is that and community support is the same kind of thing. It's
This is not Big Brother support. There's as much support, and you're listening to some of these stories to you, as it is the other one.
sure, absolutely. It's always been sure. Yes.
And that's what you're trying to say, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I had the word bridge building. Now, the word support we can put our own definitions to it. It's like the whole village thing. We have to take seriously what we're saying. Anyhow. We can deal with this, but I think we're kind of accepting that there will be in place a trained community support committee funded by Wheat Ridge in part. Well, I mean, Wheat Ridge will fund it all. I mean, we still haven't spent Wheat Ridge's money yet. I'm guessing a budget of $600 a month maximum for the maintenance thing right now for this year. We'll figure out how to do that yet. I can get Cruz for part of it, incidentally, and he's okay on the.
Well, is Cruz going to work full time for?
He's
Hilltop?
working, and I know they're very concerned that he doesn't take all these jobs on the side. Two things. I haven't really announced it, but there's no problem. For the first 9 months, Cruz will work pretty square hours, okay? But we need him on Saturday. So I told the committee to tell me is this okay? Monday, skip Tuesday, because Monday is after a weekend. Lord knows what's the residue there, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday's a big day. So he's working 5 days a week. These guys don't know the end of work. So on Tuesdays, I want to hire him for Project Neighbors, and he's okay. See, he's got a Social Security number. I want to use him on Tuesdays with Project Neighbors, and we'll put him on the payroll. And that's nothing. I mean, first of all, he's walking to work. I mean, he has no commuting time to Michigan City or anything else. He's got time to burn in his mind. Okay, so he ain't gonna cheat on them. He also knows that this job is his future, and it's gonna be probably 2% or something a year and so forth. He's gonna have health insurance, a Hilltop job. That starting in August sometime, his job will be, we don't know. It might be 2 nights a week. Might be Saturday mornings. Don't know where it's going to be. You're going to do a minimum of 40 hours, and we're not counting after that. There won't be any overtime. You're assistant building supervisor, and it's almost like salary, but we're just programming it a little 40 plus. You with me, Lou?
Well, it ought to be a salary.
All right, make it a salary. Okay, but it should be a salary. But at any rate, he has Tuesdays off, and Neighbors is going to use it. All right, and he can help me train because I can't do too much with Hilltop. It's going to take a lot of my time. He can help me train Gustavo, who has no social security number, just to be a helper for him. He's not working for us at all. And with your money, and I got a couple other clues, I don't need to tell anybody. I can take care of paying for giving Jonathan some money. It has nothing to do with his work, okay? And what we do after 9 months, we'll think about all the time.
Yeah, I think just to keep it clear with him, Gustavo, what he does as a volunteer.
All right, that's what I'm saying.
And what you do as a person.
Yeah, it's no question. See, I've been doing this.
I know.
I mean, he tags along. I said, Cruz, I'm going to need you for 4 hours this morning. He just tags along.
And Cruz takes care of it.
Cruz takes care of it. And here, Cruz is going to have a specific, he'll be an hourly job on the Project Neighbors thing. And I'll get him, again, about $7 an hour take home. And we'll run him through the books. Incidentally.
Yeah, see, I just think at this point in our existence that the employees of Neighbors and Hilltop and Reiner Foundation and CASA have to be legal. They have to be.
You don't have to say that anymore.
Okay.
I am totally locked into that.
Okay. And on undocumented workers, I think that one thing we need to do is to figure out how we can assist people in getting documents.
Well, we're working on that one, yeah. And that's not even if you've got the lawyers and everything else, it's not that easy because they have a little problem still with going back to Guatemala and freedom of that and stuff like that. That's another subject, though.
No, I know it's not easy. I'm saying that that's something that we ought to be doing, though. It's in some.
I know that, and I'm sorry I'm a little pushy here because I want to get a couple of things out. I got to go.
Yep, I know.
So we have a committee now on. You got the picture on that. Now on that particular thing, we need a contract. Cruz starts work with Hilltop Wednesday, so I don't know. Maybe all we have to do, the contract we can wait on, is make sure the terms are set for Sharon that she can start the Hilltop thing, and then Cruz starts getting a check from the bank.
Is this something that's going to run through Hilltop board, or is Ed on board with this, and Ron and those people?
Well, the executive committee, in a sense, has dealt with it. And
that's fine.
I'm suggesting that I'll firm it up Monday morning, but that Ed just simply announced that instead of getting into a big debate on, well, I know somebody that's a senior citizen or something, we got to have Cruz. There's no other way. Okay, you can say it very simply and just say that we've negotiated with an assistant supervisory building supervisor at a little over $7.50 an hour, and we're working on the contract now.
Well, let's not make it a contract, because Ed's not even on a contract. We're not going to have.
Or whatever we have to say.
We're working on the terms here.
We're working on the terms, and does anybody have any problem with that? They won't have any problem. First of all, our agenda is loaded. We're never going to get out of there Monday night. Secondly, nobody's in a position at this point to discuss cruise. They're really not. And what we've got lined up for them already.
Well,
They've got to trust our committee that's worked on this.
and part of it, Walt, is that there's this is part of the price they pay for having us involved.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is that there is we don't have to post this job to the world at large. We don't have to say this is we need the absolute best person for this and on somebody else's criteria. We're allowed to discriminate in favor of people that need help and are in that community and that have been involved in this project. And that's, nobody has to like it. I'm not, anyway, go ahead. You got some other items.
Well, I think we need to run it through that way. But we need to get...
It can be done a whole lot more sensitively than I just did it.
Yeah.
I mean...
And Ed can do that. And I can't. But I do think that we have to get the terms. We have to sit down and... You can go ahead on the can or whenever. I can tell you right now. Make sure he has very close to $8 an hour. Okay?
Didn't we work this out the other day?
Yeah, and but it's not written in stone yet. $8 an hour, and you don't even have to worry about the health insurance. He will have health insurance, but as you or somebody said, that won't be on the salary part of our budget when we get that straightened out.
Well, he's not going to start with health insurance, right?
Well, as soon as possible, we're going to get it there. Okay, and that's going to be discussed with Ron. And Saturday also with Porter Memorial. We really believe that going through either Porter Memorial, just going through it, if they want to donate it, it's even better. But going through health benefits through either Porter Memorial or Emmanuel will save us a ton of money.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but the terms, that's the terms. Just Sharon probably can take that right now and go with it. That's all I know.
Yeah, but you don't care how much it costs? I mean,
I want him to bring home close to $8 an hour. I mean,
no. Again, we have trouble talking about this because I need to know whether that's his net after taxes are out or his gross. And I prefer to work in, what's your gross pay? Because that's what everybody else, I mean, when he works in Michigan City, he gets paid a certain amount an hour. What is the stated hourly rate that he gets paid? And what's the stated hourly rate you want him to? Because, see, your net take-home pay gets affected by how many deductions you claim or don't claim.
Incidentally, you must have taken my forms. I got to get forms for him to sign.
I've got it for you before you go.
Well, she or you can figure out what that's going to be. He's got to buy food and pay rent and everything. He has to have very close to $8 in his hand when he comes home. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay. And all I'm saying is we need to. I understand that.
And all I'm saying is if that gets a little higher than I thought about, then we're just going to have a smaller health insurance. That's all I can say. I'm trying to work in my head with that and a budget of 24 to 25 max, including health insurance. Actually, we have on the budget 26,000, including 3,000 for 6,000 for cleaning and 20,000 for custodian. We're putting those together. At least I am in my head now. He's going to do the cleaning. Okay. If he wants to pay his wife a few bucks to come and take over one night, that's his business. You with me? We're just going to need that. And we haven't changed the budget figure we turned to Anderson on that. Anderson has 26,000 for custodial and cleaning. Okay?
Yeah.
So just getting close to $8 to come home with.
Okay.
And give me the 2 forms, okay? Before I go.
Yeah. We need to get those filled out for all of our employees, Ed and.
Well, see, that's where I can
And-
help you
and,
time-wise.
and for the CASA people as well.
Give me a whole bunch of them before
I got a folder for you right here. I put it
Okay.
in my bag.
All right, I'm ready to go with it, and that's something. And I would guess that he would get a paycheck 10 days after he starts. Maybe skip the first few days.
Well, can we pay? We need to pay him monthly.
Oh, now that's another thing. You can't do it twice a month.
Well, I guess we can. If it's possible to do it monthly, that's better. But we can do it twice a month, I guess.
I'll ask him, and I'll call you. Okay. But certainly we could do it twice a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it'd be cheaper to do it once a month,
Well, I don't know.
time-wise.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah.
Okay.
Now, is this going to be a salary?
That's a good question. Let's make it a salary. I don't see any reason why not. Do you?
Well, it's a salary means that you're expected to be there 40 hours a week, and you may have to be there more than 40 hours a week, but you're not going to get extra pay for working extra time.
Right.
And if we're going to pay by an hour, then it's we got to keep track. Somebody's got to look and keep track and turn in the hours.
Salary. Let's hurry up. Salary. Unless you see a reason not to. Salary. We're not going to keep hours. That'll drive me out of my mind. Anybody else?
And if he's not going to do the 40 hours a week or 45 hours,
He's got
a
a
week,
year. If he screws up, we're getting some.
Well, I don't want to enter an employment contract because nobody in this state has an employment contract unless they have a union.
All right.
And I don't see why we should be any different.
All right, we won't. And it's very simple. We want him. Permanently. We want him. It's his future. But if he doesn't want it,
does he want this?
oh yes. I spent a lot of time with he and Arceli together on it. Okay. I got to really fly. But the other area that needs to be worked on, I am trying like crazy. I recognize Lois' duty, my duty, to make everything change harmoniously and everything else. My job, I push because I think titles resonate well. I push for 2 weeks to be treasurer of this outfit. I don't want to be treasurer anymore, okay? That was to get this whole thing ready for tomorrow and a couple other things. It's also meeting with Sharon, everything was important, and getting an intern for Ed and asking Ed, would he be the bookkeeper? And he's willing to be the bookkeeper, and we're going to have an intern for him. Okay?
Okay.
No, that means that he's doing Lois' job. He's taking income and outgoing checks. Okay? I want him, when I say I want, I need it, and if you don't like it, we can scratch it. I need from him, and I need him to be able to write neighbors' checks. Not Hilltop checks, neighbors' checks. And that means he would have a neighbor's budget, and then there's a Hilltop budget he's responsible for too, income, outcome, the bank isn't going to get a new grant. Ed's going to get a new grant, no. So as quickly as possible,
Add him as a signator
right,
on the neighbor's account at the credit union.
right. We got to do that. Okay, I'll make a note. It's very important. He has checks.
Well, one person ought to have the checkbook.
I think Ed should have that checkbook. I know as far as Hilltop, that he doesn't need the Hilltop checkbook.
The bank's cutting Hilltop checks.
Yeah. And you sign what you're supposed to sign with the bank. Okay? So it's you're
what I've done with the bank so far. I mean, it's automatic. I've said put the money here, and they did it. They wrote a check. I didn't have to sign.
And they send the check. It doesn't have to sign. But you're the authority. For instance, we're going to need lots of checks fast pretty soon. You're the authority to the bank, right?
Right now, and if that gets unworkable,
It won't be that much.
for whatever reason, We can change that too. I'm there now just because I'm available. I mean, if you need to get me, unless I'm in court, which is 2% of my time, I'm here.
Yeah.
And you can
No, I
find me.
think it makes sense, but you, I'll just say that we need a monthly check for so and so. I mean, for something, I had something down. I'll get it to you later. And you make the arrangements with the bank to send a monthly check to them. Okay?
Well, just like we did on Ed's salary.
Yeah.
That's going to happen every month now.
Yeah.
On the
And that's
25th, they're going to send.
Oh, I know what it is. I forgot to bring the address. I need very quickly. I'd like tomorrow. I better make a note. Very quickly, I want the bank to send. No, it wouldn't be the bank. Neighbors has to do that, so Ed has to do that. I don't want Lloyd to send to Fort Wayne the $400 each month for the new house we're renting. Okay,
That's got to be Ed.
got to be Ed.
That's out of the and we need to just there are 2 projects in Project Neighbors Corp now. One is the Hilltop, which has a separate budget, and the other is the rest of our work, which has a separate budget. We're running Hilltop right now out of this trust account. And if there's going to be petty cash, that kind of thing, we'll cut a check from the bank to Ed for petty cash, and he can keep receipts on it. Sure, on the Hilltop thing.
Yeah, that's true. Don't know how much he wants to do with that. But it might be. No, wait a minute. What if, for instance, petty cash has to be answered to?
Yep.
On receipts.
Yep.
And you're saying, Ed, well, the bank won't do any of that, huh?
Right.
Okay.
No, they're not going to get involved in that level of detail.
Okay. Well, we'll work on that.
I mean, that's something that Ed and Sharon and I and you, if you want,
But you have to fax to the bank.
need to see.
Here's the Von Tobel bill for Hilltop this month.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I'll have to do is hopefully once a month. Ed'll give me I mean, we'll have those forms. Ed'll fill them out. I'll just sign them.
Okay.
Here are the bills for the month to be paid.
Sorry, I have to fly, but
No,
The
I understand.
last
I gotta
thing-
go too.
the last thing is this thing that I mentioned about the future of single women or single parents or parents that ever make it. Whether that is a focus of any future neighbors' meetings or gatherings or not, I just want you to know that is something that will not leave me. I'm on to that one with whomever necessary. It is a major, exciting area of creativity that no Republican, no Democrat, nobody is working on. And they're all still thinking in terms of work and production, and that's bullshit.
Well, and that's what that's what I wanted to tell you is that Paul, I think, is real interested in that, as am I.
Okay,
And so
I'm ready anytime because it's going to be my thought.
And I think it's something that we can discuss in neighbors meetings, and we ought to get prepared for that. If we can have something written up, whether it's involves some of the coastal stuff or whatever kind of stuff that people might think about.
Yeah.
I told you about this body shop thing. Let me bring you down.
Oh, yeah.